Hey guys, I'm Valkie, and as some of you already know, on this channel I make content about FPS games and aim training. Both educational to help other people improve in their aim journey, but also highlights of my own gameplay. I'm someone that predominantly solo queues and tries to reach the highest ranks in the FPS games that I play. I have reached Global Elite in CSGO and Immortal 3 in Valorant, as most of my backgrounds came from a tactical FPS background. But when I wanted to improve in tracking while playing CSGO is when I started playing KovaaKs. Back then I started playing it with the intent of also getting good at tracking to play games like Overwatch and Apex. Since then I've started a whole long aim journey. I am now a Nova in the KovaaKs Voltaic benchmarks, and I recently also went through the AimLab benchmarks where I got Grandmaster complete. Once I reached all these ranks in the aim training benchmarks, I would constantly get a lot of questions asking about tips. And that's where the idea came from to start a series where I explain each subcategory in the benchmarks, each type of aiming, how you can get better at it, what scenarios you can play to improve, what settings are best, how these types of aiming and aim training directly correlate to an actual FPS game, and make it into a series to help other people improve or get started in their aim journey. Before I get started, I want to say that it does not matter what aim trainer you use. I have most of my hours in KovaaKs, but I've recently also done the Voltaic benchmarks in AimLab. And throughout this series, you will see examples from both KovaaKs and AimLab. The benchmarks I will be using with the different categories of aiming will be the Voltaic benchmarks, but you will see a lot of correlation between other benchmarks in the subtypes of aiming, as those pretty much are the main categories that exist. In aim training, originally there were always three main types of aiming, or main categories of aiming, and those are clicking, tracking, and target switching. You can further divide these three categories into subcategories. For clicking, this would be static clicking or dynamic clicking. For tracking, this would be smooth or precise tracking or reactive tracking. And for target switching, it would be speed target switching or evasive target switching. In this series, each part or each video will cover one of these subcategories of aiming and further explain them, show how to improve them, and give examples of good scenarios and optimal settings to play these. I am ranked Nova in each of these subcategories of aiming in the Voltaic benchmarks, which means that I am one of the highest ranked players in the Voltaic benchmarks. That does not mean that my opinion is the only right opinion on how to improve on each of these categories. I would recommend joining the Voltaic Discord and doing some research. There's also other people you can find on YouTube who've made guides on aim training. In each of my series and each subcategory of aiming, I will also give playlists which are sometimes made by other great players and recommend checking them out as well. But at the end of the day, what's most important is that you stick with a method that's comfortable for you and makes you feel like you get the most improvement. Because at the end of the day, that's what's most important, and aim training is something personal. Before I get started on the actual guide in each subcategory of aiming, I will go through all my settings in KovaaKs quickly and all my settings in AimLab and give a quick explanation on how you can set up your game in a way that's best for you. I'm going to start on the main menu in KovaaKs. The sensitivity scale is what game you want to use. Personally, I use Overwatch. My sensitivity is 3.5. You can click on this settings wheel, see how this translates to your centimeters per 360 or inches per 360. I lock my vertical sensitivity to the horizontal, so both planes are exactly the same. I use 800 dpi just like I use on my G Pro wireless. I use 103 Overwatch FOV. For the benchmarks, this is the minimum you need on each category. You're not allowed to go lower than 103 or your benchmarks won't count. If you drag the FPS to the right, it will max to 360. I type 999 and it goes above the max FPS you can use. Nothing else here is really important. For keybinds, the only thing I've changed is I changed my reset button to R. When it comes to the weapons page, the most important things for me, I don't show my weapon, I don't show the hit scan graphics. My crosshair scale is 0.8 with a little yellow crosshair. The color settings you can see right here in the bottom. Then for video settings, full screen 1920 by 1080. If you're a CS player that plays 1280 by 960 on 4:3 stretched, that's completely fine. You can match your game of preference. I wouldn't recommend going above 100 resolution scale. My video settings are the same as I use in every game, low as possible, NVIDIA Reflex low latency enabled plus boost. When it comes to my visuals, I will also upload the theme so that if you download it and put it in your files, you will have the same theme as me. If you don't want to download anything, that's completely fine. I'll just show you what settings I use in game. These are my sky settings. These are the color settings. My walls and the color settings. My floors, color settings. Ramps, although in the benchmarks I don't believe there are any ramps. And ceilings. Then for enemy colors, I like to use just the color white. It's a personal preference. You can change it to however you want. Headshot color is red. I rarely play scenarios where that even matters. Team colors, I've never played a scenario where I had a teammate. Sounds, personal preference. For UI, there's a few things important with the benchmarks because some things need to be on your screen. If you click on Move UI Elements, you can completely customize your UI. But there's a few things that you need to see. That's the session stats, kill stats, clock, challenge timer. Those are the most important. And then personally, I prefer health bars to see how far along I am, especially in gauntlet scenarios. I have the movement bar on because in the KovaaKs benchmarks, there's movement scenarios. And I just like to see how much FPS I have. And that's pretty much the most important things. When it comes to MISC, make sure you don't have friends only leaderboard on. When you submit your benchmarks, they want to see the actual leaderboard. And that's it for the KovaaKs settings. Now I'll show you my AimLab settings. I've done a lot less customization in AimLab as I only have about 30 hours total in this game. I mostly tried to copy it as much as my KovaaKs settings as I could. For my crosshair, it's a tiny yellow crosshair which you could copy if you want to by looking at these exact settings. My targets, just like in KovaaKs, are white. Audio is personal preference. For graphics, I use 1920 by 1080. Full screen exclusive, low latency, no frame rate limiter, everything here off. Visuals, you can copy them if you'd want. I personally prefer, just like in KovaaKs, a dark as possible background because it's soothing for my eyes. And then my target be white so it really contrasts it. I used Overwatch scale here too. Sensitivity 3.5, field of view 103. Remember, 103 is minimum for these benchmarks. ADS settings do not matter to me as I have unbound ADSing. Input source, raw input should be on. Then for the game settings, I don't have a countdown duration, just like in KovaaKs, so I turned that to 0 right here. Then for my weapon visibility, I don't want to see the weapon. No recoil, no sway. Key bindings, the only thing I changed, just like in KovaaKs, R is my reset button, and skins I don't really use. So that was it for the AimLab settings. Now that I've given a short explanation about what this series will be about, what I will be covering, and showed you my settings in both KovaaKs and AimLab, I want to explain what you can expect from these videos and when you can be expecting them. So obviously today this video release announcing the series. Tomorrow at 4 p.m. CEST, so Amsterdam time, you can expect part 1, which will be clicking and specifically static clicking. Part 2 will be the Thursday after, also at 4 p.m. All of these videos will be at 4 p.m. And next Thursday it will cover dynamic clicking. The Thursday after, you can expect smooth/precise tracking. After that, it will be reactive tracking, followed by speed target switching, and lastly, it will be evasive target switching. So, including this introduction, it will be a 7-part series going into the depths of each subcategory of the benchmarks. And I hope by the end of it, a lot of you have learned a lot, improved your benchmarks, and can look back at this, hopefully saying that it helped you. On each of these videos, feel free to leave a comment if you have any questions or you want tips about your own aim journey, and I'll try to answer them as much as I can. I do have a full-time job, so I'm not always the fastest in replying, but I do try to reply to everyone. You can also stop by my Twitch channel. I've recently started streaming consistently again on twitch.tv/Valkie_. The link will also be in the description. And while I'm streaming, you can always stop by to ask me questions and I will answer them as much as I can during my games. If you look forward to this series, make sure to subscribe so that you can see the next few videos when they come out, and leave a like if they helped you. And I hope that throughout this journey I can help you guys really improve your aim training journey and share some of the things that I value the most in aim training, and hopefully it helps you. So thank you for watching and see you in the next one.